Good morning, Goyim. How's everybody doing out there in the real world outside of the internet? It's your old buddy Rorschach here. Right, what's going on here then? What a screen ranting? What a screen rant ranting about? Well, they're ranting about. Actually, they're crowing about the success of a movie that hasn't been released yet. So, Captain Marvel, starring cheesy Brie Larson, right, is going to be released on the 8th. That's this Friday, isn't it? And it's quite a big deal, in case you haven't noticed. Lots of people are talking about this Captain Marvel movie. And I can understand completely why it's such an important thing. Okay, here's the deal with Captain Marvel. Here's the deal with this article. If the Captain Marvel movie makes any money at all, this is going to be the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the future of the DC Universe as well. The future of superheroes actually on the big screen. It's going to get more and more and more woke. We know what happens here, don't we? As comics gators. People like myself who are not really about the movies but more about the comic books. I used to enjoy going to the comic book store every Wednesday. Nowadays it's a bit of a chore. Because when I walk through the door and I get through the mass of people who are trying to burst into the door and get the first issues of the new books, that doesn't happen. I'm always the only person in the comic book store. Yeah, when I pick up the books, I'm always confronted by a wall of estrogen-fueled soy and beta male programming. The ladies have taken over the comics completely. They're awful. They're really, really, really bad. And it's all about my representation. It's very anti-white. It's very anti-man. And it's also anti-woman in that the characters that are portrayed in the comic books are not feminine. They're basically men with tits, like Femme4 there. Girls don't want to read this. Girls don't want to read men with tits. And boys who are not getting aspirational masculinity anymore feel like they're getting lectured to by their mom. And it's because they are. It's the moms now who are writing the comic books. It's the people like Cheesy Brie who are writing the comic books. Thus, the comic book industry is in total freefall, in collapse. And it's not going to last for much longer. So if this Captain Marvel movie makes any money this weekend, the same thing that's happened to comics is going to happen to the cinema as well. That's my prediction. So why is that happening? What is all this about? Well, it's all about politics, unfortunately. It's all about politics nowadays. The left is panicking. The socialist left are in crisis. What's happened is that about the internet happened and people, like myself, started to talk about what the left is really about. We've started to talk about the truth behind the gender wage gap. We've started to talk about the truth behind race and IQ. We've started to talk about the truth about why there aren't so many females involved in top level STEM careers. It's basically because they don't want to be involved in STEM careers. Females in the West today are the most privileged people who have ever existed. So it's quite admirable, really. You've got to stand back in awe, really, and see how, just give the left credit. You've got to stand back in awe and give the left credit at how truly Machiavellian and manipulative they are, in how they've twisted reality itself to serve their agenda and portray women as, in some way, oppressed by the imaginary patriarchy. When we all know that the West today, look at the family court system, is completely constructed, look at the open border situation, is constructed around what women want, to make women as comfortable as possible. So what the left need to do, okay, to get the votes, from the ladies, and it is the ladies that they're targeting, is they need to separate the men from the women. And the way they do that is to tell women that they're oppressed. It's quite an evil thing to do, because if you tell the women that they're oppressed, that there's a system of patriarchal control, well, there is in Islamic countries, of course, but not in the West. If you manage to convince them that, then if you manage to convince them to hate on who could be their future husbands and daddies to their kids, well, they're not going to be wives in the future, and they're not going to be moms, and they're not wives and they're not moms. Instead, they stay in the city. If they replace the children with cats, if they have no children or just 1 or 2 children, that's not enough children to replace the current generation. And the left has an open border policy, doesn't it? Look what's happening to Brexit in the UK at the moment, which is all about the people of the UK trying to regain some sovereignty of the country. Look what's happening with the not happening wall in America. So what the left has done is they separated the women from the men by telling the women that they're oppressed, and the women who got that natural mothering instinct, instead it looks for something to attach itself to, and that, as we all know, is the immigrant children coming into the West, the immigrant children who grew up to be adults who vote for the left. So this is all about politics. This is all about making sure that the current system of leftist hegemony in terms of control of the institutions, academia, the judiciary, entertainment, obviously, and government as well. It's about maintaining that control. And these movies, the Captain Marvel movies, are no longer about making money. They're about control. They're about controlling the ladies. So who is doing this? Who wants to split men from women, ensure that the birth rate is low, and ensure that the West is basically the population of the West, the people who made the West what it is today, replaced? Who is doing this? Yeah, it's the politicians, it's the Democratic Party politicians, it's Labour Party politicians, it's Republicans as well, the Conservatives in the UK. It's all of them. But there's another group as well who's doing this, and it's very understandable to me and why they are doing this. If you want to know who the group is who's really trying to separate the men from the women and help the leftist political parties, then what you need to do is you need to go onto Wikipedia. You need to discover, it's quite easy to do, take you 10 minutes, discover for yourself who it is that owns Marvel, Disney, who it is that owns Netflix, who it is that owns Google, who owns YouTube, who owns all the banking institutions, who are the people who own everything, who get to pay for all this propaganda. And once you do understand who the people are, spoiler, it's not lizards. And once you understand who it is that's funding all this stuff, then, well, that's the beginning of your red pill journey. But you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful on the internet today. You've got to be careful about saying these people own this, and this is why they're doing what they're doing. Because if you say that, well, they don't like it very much. They don't like being exposed. That's why criminals operate at night time, because the daylight of day, the light of day is the light of truth, which exposes their machinations. So Captain Marvel then released. Let's get back to the beginning of this video. Captain Marvel released this Friday. Is playing into the long-term agenda. If it wins, this is the future of cinema. A portal punching, strong, empowered woman of colour, lesbian girl. They would love to make a movie about her. They'd also love to make a movie about Kamala Khan as well. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen if Captain Marvel makes any money in the cinema this weekend. So what do you need to do? You need to have a word with the missus, don't you, and try to tell her that it might not be a good idea to see this movie. Can we watch that Alita Battle Angel, whatever it's called? I don't go to the Cineplex for obvious reasons, because like I said a minute ago, I'm very aware of who's funding all this stuff. But if the missus insists on going to the cinema because she just wants to get out of the house and have some popcorn, and take her to see the Alita movie instead. Because if you take her to see the Captain Marvel movie, well, cinema's going to be a pretty difficult place for you to go to over the next few years. It's going to become like the comic book industry. It's going to become full-on social justice. It's going to be full-on hating on straight white men, and it's going to become full-on, basically, propaganda for the lefty parties in Europe and America. The lefty parties who are doing exactly what the people who are funding all this stuff want them to do. But that's my opinion. What's yours? Please let me know in the comments down below. And I end the video. What the heck was this? Rant here. Yeah, I've done a little rant, haven't I? I've done a rant about Screen Rant. So yeah, I'll end it here. Thanks for checking it out. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you'd be so kind. Take care, everybody, and I'll catch you all later. See you guys.